going on, people? Good afternoon. We are back again, myself and Lee, for another show. All things Arsenal, starting to pick up a little bit in the transfer market. David Ornstein has dropped a bomb last night that we're going to discuss. It's not the bomb that excites too many people. We are going to discuss it nevertheless. We're going to look at the Calafiori deal and see how close that one is and what that might mean for Arsenal moving forward, and look at where we're still short. So we're going to be with you for around about half hour, 45 minutes today. Lee, how the devil are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you very much. All good. Had a good weekend, and fresh and ready to go for it again. Like, you know what I mean? I think this is going to be a good week. This is with the semi-final, and obviously the final coming up, and then we can relax. Then all of our boys will be on holiday, and hopefully raring to go in a couple of weeks. Like, you know, so other than that, good. You good?
I'm very good, mate. I've had a good week. I've had a good weekend, and my niece and nephew's birthdays have been pretty mad, but good fun. My nephew's birthday's 7 today, mate. I can't believe how grown up they get so quickly, don't they? But I'm going to go see him in a little while, and looking forward to that. And if I'm honest with you, mate, it's just nice to see some of the transfer news pick up again now, because we're starting to see a lot of news and some of the rumours come our way, which I think is what we needed, mate. It's been so dead. I still think the Euros and the Copa America have got in the way of it a bit, and when that does finish, I think it will fly. But it is starting to get more rumours and more murmurs now, which is good. But I wanted to touch on England very quickly. I know that it was on Saturday, and I've spoken to Def about it myself, but I haven't spoken to you about it. And our star boy, mate, was the saviour of the day. I thought he was the issue, according to rival fans, and he needed to be binned out the side. But that's another story, mate. Now they're all doing this to him. He was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Rival fans, I think you mean England fans and journalists and everybody that don't support Arsenal, and all wanted him dropped. No mention of any other player. I see all the pundits on television over the week going, "Oh, he's been the saviour." Most of them wanted him dropped or put a different position or whatever, like. But most of them wanted him dropped, and now all of a sudden he's the saviour. Which us Arsenal fans, by the way, had no doubt about it. You know what I mean? The reason he wasn't probably playing to his best is because of the system and the players around him and whatever. But at the end of the day, he has been, and I'll say it now, Arsenal's best player, England's best player for the past 3 years. And it again proved it. England were out when they scored Switzerland. I think I'm going to be really honest with you. I thought Switzerland were a better team. I thought that Granit Xhaka, by the way, was absolutely outstanding. My God.
He's been great, mate, this tournament.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Someone said it today in the gym. I went to the gym this morning, and someone said there wasn't an Arsenal fan turned around and said, if we'd have kept Granit Xhaka, we'd have won the league last season. That's how good he was and has been in this tournament. Do you know what? I sort of concur with that a little bit. I think he was like absolutely brilliant in that game. Just dictated it. And I have to say, I thought Switzerland were the better team. And when they got that goal in the 75th minute, I actually thought, oh, well, that's it. It's all over. We're done. And sitting there, to be honest, for the next 5 minutes, doom and gloom. I was sitting there like, thinking, oh, we're out. I couldn't see us coming back into it. This is, not been a good tournament for us. Should have gone on and done a lot better than what we had. And then the ball got to the feet of Bukayo Saka, and bang, the game changed. I don't know if you noticed it then. I thought we were superb for that 5 minutes, by the way, from 75 to 80. And then we went back into our shell again. But listen, I think a lot of teams have been like that, Dan. France, it's not about what you do as an attacking force. It's what seems to be what you do defending-wise and keeping it tight. I thought that the best game of all was was Germany versus Spain. I thought that was an outstanding game of football. And I'm going to say it again, as much as I love Kai Havertz, it cost him. He cost him dear. He misses too many good. Outstanding until he shoots. Outstanding until he gets shot. He could have won him that game, but he didn't. But Saka, absolutely outstanding on the day. And I'm not going to lie, Dan. I don't think I've ever been as nervous for an England penalty when he stepped up for that penalty. Oh my God, do you know what I mean? Now I've gone through penalty shootouts, and listen, if England get through, I'm well happy. If they go out, to me, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. But that penalty there was I was so nervous. When he put it in, fantastic. And I've looked back at the penalties, fantastic penalties, all of them, to be fair. Every one of them. And a big up to Ivan Toney, like, you know what I mean? It's just incredible.
Didn't even look at the ball, did he?
That's incredible, Dan. Try doing that at home in your garden, all right? I think it's difficult enough, but to do it in a tournament and on that sort of pressure, and not to change his style, because if he'd have missed that, I think he might have got slaughtered for it, if I'll be honest. But he does it all the time. And for him to do that, wow, that was unbelievable. Brilliant penalty shootout. And I'm going to say it now, when it went to penalties, I honestly thought England would win it again. So would win, and they did. So listen, Switzerland, I think, can be very, very proud of their performance, and they'll be very, very unlucky. And I tell you what, if they'd have got past us, Switzerland, I fancied them to get to the final. But I think England are in the final now. Holland, I don't think they're all that. I'll be really honest. If we don't beat them comfortably, I'll be very, very disappointed. And yeah, so I think that this week we've got something to really, really look forward to, like, you know. So yeah, England. Who are you going to go for? What's your final prediction? I'm going to go England, France.
England, Spain.
England, Spain.
Spain have been so impressive.
Been the best team.
They have. Now, listen, if France and England get there, I must say, they must be looking at each other thinking, how the hell have we got here? Because France ain't been nothing special. I mean, I will mention Saliba again, because I thought he was outstanding the other night against Portugal. I actually thought Pepe was outstanding at 41. I mean, we've got one of the youngest centre-backs in world football and one of the oldest centre-backs in world football, both absolutely balling out. I mean, it weren't the best of games, don't get me wrong. But when you look at the defending on show, if anyone plays centre-half, you'll appreciate that. Go watch them two in the performance of that night. It was incredible. Anything that come their way, they got rid of. They were unbelievable on the ball. There's one bit of skill from Saliba. It's against Cristiano Ronaldo, by the way. I know he's not had a great tournament. He's 37, but he's not a bad player, is he? No, and he just absolutely waltzes past him like he's not there. It's just wonderful to see. And Pepe as well, big up, 41 years old, still playing in tournaments. You know, you got to big up Lee, 41, and he's still doing it at the highest level. You know, and for Porto as well, you know, Champions League quarterfinals, it's incredible.
Do you remember when we was we come up against Porto? If you remember it, we turned around and said, "Oh, no, well, you know, Saka or whoever up front, Jesus, will skin him." You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? He's
yeah, they didn't they?
And I didn't. He had if you remember those two games that he was their best player in the back. He was superb. And what I was sat here the other day and I was thinking about it. I think Pepe. Imagine what he was like in his prime. And I'll tell you what, he was outstanding. But he had that. Do you remember he done all those little antics and he's a dirty little sod. It sort of took away from how good he actually was at times. You know what I mean? He was a bit of a, you know, got sent off a lot, and he was a very, very nasty. But now he's mature. Well, I watched him. That run that he done, that was in the extra time, wasn't it? That when he chased that, who's no slouch, by the way, and he got back and won the tackle, and then he cheered it like he scored a goal. I thought that was fantastic, like, you know what I mean? And I've got a lot of admiration for him and Ronaldo. I know it's a little bit easier to be a defender than a forward. Ronaldo struggled a little bit, like, but at 39 years of age and 41 to still be playing, not just club level or Saudi football, that is the elite of international football. You know, unbelievable. And Pepe, well, you know what I mean? I think, along with Saliba's probably, and Nketiah, who I suppose really have been the three best standout defenders of this tournament, like, you know. 41 years of age, incredible.
Yeah, I've got to big them up as well. I thought they two were outstanding. But I will go Spain, England. I think England have got to get through the Netherlands. I don't think they've been outstanding in the Netherlands, but neither have England. My problem is that Gareth Southgate is going to be as stubborn as ever. I think we're all crying out to see the Trents of the world come into the team. What I thought was, you know, it was really good to see him get the winning penalty. I suppose the only position that we might look to change is Luke Shaw. If he is fit, I think he'll play at left wing back. Other than that, I think everything will stay the same, if I'm honest. I don't think Gareth Southgate wants that. Other than Gehi, who I think will come in for Konza. But I have to say, Kyle Walker he's not had a good tournament. I honestly, I do not look at his performances at the moment and think, wow, he's been poor. Stones ain't looked at himself, I don't think. Bellingham, not quite got that spark that I'm looking for. Foden, pretty invisible. And I have to say it, Lee, I think Harry Kane, he's been one of the worst players on the pitch. Honestly, I don't see him. He's so deep. He don't look fit. You know, like he wants it. I've been really, really disappointed. And I'm actually going to say it now. I'd play Tony ahead of him now and I'd bring him on because, I know he won't do it, but this is what I would do because I don't think he can carry on putting performances in like that. I thought it was poor. Positives on the day. I thought the 5 penalty takers were outstanding. I know we mentioned Tony not looking at the ball, but Trent's, it was like a free kick that went in, that's how good it was. It was unbelievable. Obviously, Cole Palmer, he is cold, isn't he? I mean, taking penalties, he just don't miss. And the one, like you say, Bellingham, fair play, but Saka, I stepped up and I was like this. I was actually doing that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you miss this boy, and it's just side netting, and that smile, Lee, when he gets that in, I just thought that was beautiful. I really did. And I love this kid. The amount of abuse he went through. Stuart Pearce made a great point. He said, when Gareth Southgate, Stuart Pearce, Paul Ince, David Batty, when they all missed, there weren't social media. There was no abuse like there was now. There was no racial stuff with Paul Ince when he missed it, but there is with Bukayo Saka. And I loved what Jadon Sancho did when he said, that's for me and Marcus. I thought that was incredible post to put for Jadon Sancho to do that with Saka. And some of the love that he's got, man. I just love the kid. And I think if you look at bounce back ability, resilience, honesty, passion, drive, resilience, the kid's got it all, man. I think he's unbelievable. And for those people that are saying, I think we might have to drop this lad. Well, do you want to drop him now? Because if we did, we would be out. That is fact, Lee. We would be out if we had dropped Bukayo Saka. So for all those people that say he should be gone out the team and he ain't doing it, like, where are you now? That's all I'm saying. Where's the 8 for the kid now?
And I'm gonna big up Gareth Southgate for this because I'm not a big fan of Gareth Southgate, never have been. But the one thing that I will give him his credit for is that he's not. Everybody from the pundits to the press was saying get Palmer in for Saka, like, you know what I mean, and he never did. And as good as Palmer is, I think Palmer should be coming in for Foden. If I'll be really honest, it would be the one that I would do. But for me, he's stuck with him. He's I think Gareth Southgate looked at it like we have done. Like, no, he's been our best player for 3 years, and I'm going to continue to back you. And I think because of that, like, you know what I mean, he has done the business, and I give Gareth Southgate his flowers for that because I think he deserves that. Because if he wouldn't have done that, as you said, England would be home, he'd be sacked, and everything would be not so good in the English garden at this moment in time. But thanks to him that he's done that. Going back to the Harry Kane thing, I've never seen Harry Kane play as bad as what I've seen.
Me neither.
I don't know what's the matter with him, whether he's injured or whatever. He has been poor. He looks about a yard off of it. And he, have you ever known Gareth Southgate to take him off with 5 minutes to go? He's a fantastic penalty taker, by the way, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And it does come to whether you drop him or not. And maybe I think you're right. I think we look a little bit better, but I think his reputation and the way is a little bit like Ronaldo. It couldn't, Ronaldo shouldn't have been playing, but he's got that moment in him, and I would keep with Harry Kane in the team at this moment in time. I would, because he's always likely to score and do something. He buys a free kick. There was 4 or 5 times and hardly anybody touched him. He goes, right. I'll tell you what, when he gives up football, he's got a part in EastEnders or Coronation Street. He's a very good actor. You know what I mean? Like, but
horrible to play against, isn't it?
Oh, get up, man! Yeah, even on play, I think get up, you know what I mean. But listen, at the end of it, it's when he and I have to say this: when he's playing for you, sort of quite like it that he's got those dark arts to him. But when you're playing against you, get up, you horrible little part. But anyway, I would keep him in the team. Do you know what? It's going to be really hard to change that team. I know like Gay's done very, very well there, but Konza, by the way, played in a back 3. He'd been playing in the back 4, so it's a bit of a risk to say, all right, we bring you in. But I get that. Foden for me would be the one, but again, I'm going to still stick with Foden. I'm going to say go with Foden because we're still winning. Dan, do you know what I'm saying? I know, and I'm just hoping that he might just come good on it.
I don't really think we should go making wholesale changes, but would you not just like to see a few changes a bit earlier, Lee? Do you know what I mean? Like
yes,
bringing on Tony, bringing on maybe Gordon, who's not got a kick, bringing on Palmer a bit earlier. I don't want to be seeing us get to like 80 minutes and we've not made a sub. That's poor. Well, especially when we're not playing well. Listen, when it's tight and you're 1-0 and you're really going for it, maybe you want to go for it. When it's 1-1 and you're trying to get that second, I understand it. When it's like dead and nothing's happening here and it ain't working or you're not happy with it, we've got no flair, no creativity, bring on Palmer and give us something. Bring on Gordon and give us an outlet. Bring on Tony with Kane if you don't want to take Kane off. Try something a bit different. And I ain't seen enough of that, bruv. There's no proactiveness, all reactive stuff,
I've got to agree with you. I 100% agree with you. There was a stage in that game where Switzerland were on top. And he didn't make the changes. They score, and then he made the changes. And then when he made the changes, England were far, far better. I think even in commentary, they sort of said, like, it's after the event, you know what I mean? Be proactive. And I think that's the problem with him down here. Switzerland went for it and got the goal. And then England, out of desperation, changed it around. If it weren't for that bit of magic, and it was magic, there's no two ways about it, England won the one. We didn't carve them open with a play like they done to us. They opened us up with a good passing move down the right-hand side. We didn't do none of that. It was just a magic moment from one of our players. But in saying that, maybe that's the tactic then, you know what I mean? Like, we keep it tight. We've got the likes of Saka, Bellingham, Kane, Foden that can just do that little bit of magic and win us a game. And maybe that's the way they're going down there, like, you know what I mean? So we'll have to see what happens from that. I think it was a better performance from England, if I'll be honest, much better than what. But there are times when if you want to have a kit, put an England game on, isn't there? Like, you know what I mean? You'll be asleep within 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It is not the most entertaining football that I've seen, but we're there. We've got a chance now. I looked at the game against Holland, Turkey. I think Turkey legs went towards the end of that game. And, they had a couple of players missing. Otherwise, I think they would have beaten Holland. I really do, Dan. So, listen, to have what we've got to get to a final, you know what I mean? Like, Holland, not the greatest team. Switzerland and Slovenia, wasn't it? Like, and you look at that other side. If we'd have been on the other side, we'd be home now. We wouldn't be able to have gone through France or
we wouldn't have beaten Spain or Germany, I don't think.
No, if we'd have met one of them, we'd have been gone.
It's a bit bad luck, though, isn't it? Luck of the draw and everything.
Cup football. You need a little bit of luck, and we've got it in abundance.
We have got it, and I will say this, and I don't mean to leave us on a negative point, but those people who are saying that Gareth Southgate's the man still and that he's got us to another semi-final, I don't know many managers that wouldn't have with that team, because that team has got him across the line in the last few minutes of the game. It ain't Gareth Southgate getting us through. We have beaten Serbia, Switzerland, Slovenia, Denmark. We haven't had hard games, have we? Let's just be real. We have not had hard games. Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Denmark, and now, of course, Switzerland. Netherlands is next. That's the hardest one we got, and they ain't been great. That is a lovely way to the final. Lovely route to the final. I couldn't have picked a better one myself. I would say this now. There is many managers that could do what he's done at this tournament with that group of players, and he still might not get us across the line. If he does, fair play. Even if he stinks it over the line, I don't care. We've won it. But I'm not going to then start hailing the geezer and knighting the geezer and saying that this geezer deserves all this stuff. No, he doesn't. The team is too talented not to get to the final, particularly in the draw that we've got it. So that's all I'm going to do. We'll leave it there.
Could not agree with you more. Putting a big black line under that. Totally agree.
Yeah, well, there we go. I think he'll go whatever, even if we win it, if I'm honest. So I think it'll be his last tournament, but we'll never know. You never know. Let's talk Arsenal, mate, because we got a little bit of news overnight that we are signing a goalkeeper, mate. And his name is Dan Bentley, ex-Southend goalkeeper, 30 years old, very highly rated when he was at Southend, should get a Premier League move, was what I was told by a Southend supporter that I know. Did get a Premier League move, but has never really settled into the first team. He's at Wolves, he's 30, he's homegrown. According to David Ornstein, the Athletic, they like his character. They think he'll suit what they're after. And the rumour that I'm hearing, Lee, is that he's not coming in to replace Raya or Ramsdale. He's coming in to be third choice. He will be a homegrown player that we keep in a similar mould to Scott Carson at Manchester City. So I expect him to probably be here for about 8 or 9 years and just keep lifting trophies, hopefully, in the next few years and pretend that he's been a massive part of the squad. That's what I'm hearing. Or, your thoughts, Lee, I know you don't know much about him. Is he coming in to replace Aaron Ramsdale for you? What do you make of this one, brother? It's a bit of a shock, wasn't it?
Well, it's a shock when I see that you put that up there. I looked at it right, and I had to look twice because I thought it was Dave Bentley. Like I said, "Well, we're signing Dave Bentley." Like I mean, like that's a bit out of the blue. So listen, I know nothing about him, only that he apparently was in our academy back in the day. He's worked with the Brentford coaches, yes. Which don't. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I'm not too sure if I like him and rate him. If I'll be really honest, so a couple of people in the chat are saying that he was in our academy. So listen, I'm with you on this. I can't see it being a straight number 2. It might well be, but we've got to get someone in because we've got no goalkeeper for the American tour. Simple as that, so they've got to get someone in. So if he does come in, he's gonna be playing on the number 1 on the tour games because there's no way that Raya or Ramsdale are going to be available for that. It's I think 2 weeks. Wednesday's our first game, and they're not going to be back at least until the weekend. So they've got to have an holiday after that. Someone said to me, which is a good point, that they had a week away before the tournament, but I still say they've got to get 3 weeks in them, Dan. So he's going to come in and have a chance. But as I say, I don't know too much about it, but they're obviously looking at getting something done. And if he is a third choice, I think you need a good third choice now, Dan, because if anything does happen to your first choice goalkeeper, they're going to be coming in and have a
backup.
You got to have a backup, and listen, I'm still intrigued what's going to happen with Aaron Ramsdale. I really don't see what's going to happen there. Be really interesting to see what happens there. Arsenal are starting to make moves, which is nice. It's starting, still need to make a couple of big ones, which I think you're right. We said that the Euros affecting that, but if we can get a couple in before the tour, I know pre-season I think starts this week, but if I can get them in before the tour starts, that'd be fantastic. But if not, it ain't the end of the world because I think most teams are going to be in this position. But it's nice to see Arsenal making some moves now. Dan Bentley, there you go.
Well, Dan Bentley is the guy that we linked with. 2014 it was. I spoke to a guy that I know, and he said to me that they've got a really good goalkeeper at Southend. I said, who's his name? He come from your academy. I said, go on, who is it? Dan Bentley. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know who he was at the time, but they said, look, he's only 20 years old, which is what he was at the time, and he's highly rated. Now, he's obviously in 2001, he started at Arsenal. 2008, he left, went to Southend. Then he got promoted into the first team, went on loan in 2011 to Braintree, and then he was sold to Brentford in 2016, which is where he has the link to our now goalkeeping coach. So that's where there is the link. Bristol City then signed him in 2019, should I say. And he went to Wolves literally last summer as the kind of backup goalkeeper. And they are looking now at a homegrown. Now, I think Lee he is going to be the third choice, and I'll tell you why. Okonkwo, who is our third choice, has gone to Wrexham. He went on loan last year. They're a very, very successful loan deal, and he has signed for them. Carl Hine, who is our current number 3, he is being linked with a move away either by a loan or by a permanent transfer. And if I'm honest with you, I'm not really a huge fan of him, but he looks like he's going to be loaned out somewhere. So Dan Bentley is going to be coming in. Now, I don't think he will be the number 2, Lee. I think he will be the number 3. He's a homegrown player. He's 30 years old. He's one that they clearly like the look of. They just see him, I think, as a kind of reliable lad that can come in and do a job if need be. I don't think he will have to. It's very, very rare that you get 2 of your goalkeepers injured and you need a third choice. Has happened before a couple of times, but I think it'll be rare to see much of him. So I expect something to happen in the goalkeeping area on top of this. Now, whether that's Ramsdale leaving or not, I don't know, but I would expect him to go. But I want to ask you this. You've said it's interesting to see what happens with Ramsdale. Unless we get 30 million offered, he ain't going anywhere, mate. Let me tell you that. I am not selling Ramsdale for anything less than 30 million. So if no one wants to pay 30 million, then I think he just stays at Arsenal. And people might think that that's making him unhappy and unsettled and all that. Well, he hasn't been throwing his toys out the pram, kicking off, not turning up to training, saying he's going, putting in transfer requests, has he, Aaron Ramsdale? He's remained professional throughout. Doesn't mean he wants to stay at Arsenal 100%, but it also doesn't mean that he wants out tomorrow. So unless there's someone coming in and paying 30 million for him, I think he'll stay put. Now, people might say, well, who's going to pay 30 million for him? Well, it ain't going to be Newcastle now because they've got their goalkeepers sorted because they've signed the one from Forest and then they've got the other lad they're sticking with, Nick Pope, who they believe is going to be fit now. Ain't going to be Newcastle. Chelsea, not too sure. I think the new Maresca manager likes Sanchez and likes Petrovic, but I think they want to get somebody in. I don't know if it's going to be a Diogo Costa or if they've got their eyes on somebody else, but I know Ramsdale was one mentioned before. The other clubs, though, are probably going to be lower division clubs, and I'm talking not division, sorry, lower league clubs like Wolves, like Bournemouth, like Brentford. These sort of clubs might look at Ramsdale and think, you know what? I know it might be a step backwards for him, but he gets first team football and can probably try and get into the England side, seeing as Pickford's at Everton, not at Man City. So maybe he'll look at that and think that's a fair deal. Because I know Bournemouth would welcome him back with open arms. I know that Brentford would be looking at a goalkeeper because they've lost David Raya and they're not too sure about this Flecken dude. And obviously Wolves, I think Jose Sarr's linked with a Saudi move. And if they're getting rid of Bentley as well, they might need a goalkeeper. So I don't know. I'd watch this space on Ramsdale, but I honestly, Lee, would not be selling him unless his £30 million comes in. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I know it's ruthless, and I want Aaron to go and do well in his career and all that, So, listen, we know that he's not happy. He weren't happy with the situation last season. So let's see what happens here. But I'm with you on this. If I still think there may be a Chelsea, maybe a West Ham. I'm looking at those sort of teams would maybe come in and do well for him. Leno went to Fulham. It's not worked out bad for him. You know what I mean? Plays week in, week out. So he may look at that and think, well, that's the best thing to go down. Like, as you say, a Wolves, somebody like that. Maybe even a loan spell down if it's not one that is going to get the money. But listen, I'm with you. You know what I mean? You don't sign him on a big contract and then sign him for quite a lot of money and then let him go for on the cheap. So whatever happens, it'll be big money that gets rid of him. But as you say, there isn't that many options available. There may be some abroad, but that's, I don't know if you'd want that. So it'd be really interesting. I did actually think that he would probably have gone to Newcastle, but that doesn't look like that's going to happen now. So I think I'm with you on this. You've just got to watch this space. It's incredible, really. But I think like a year ago, I think there would have been a lot of teams jumping at Aaron Ramsdale. But, a year in football's a long while, Dan.
It is, mate. Big time. Let's talk a little bit about Calafiori. Romano is suggesting that the personal terms are agreed. He wants Arsenal. Arsenal want him. Bologna have accepted that he's going to go, but they want a fee and they haven't agreed a fee yet, Lee. Now, Edu and Arteta are known for negotiating for sure. They want 50 million euros. Arsenal are apparently offering closer to 40 million euros. Do you think there's going to be problems here, or do you think we'll get negotiating done and this one will get across the line in the coming days, brother? What are you saying?
I think it'll get done. I think there's a lot of rumours now. When you get rumours and you get a little bit different sort of rumours. This seems to have a different sounding rumour to it. It looks like it is concrete and all that, I think it'll shore up our left-hand side. I do think Nketiah is going to be the one that's going to go from what I understand. So I do think this is going to happen, and I think that we're going to see him come in. The one thing I said this earlier on today, the one thing that's pleasing, I don't think that we're really weak in that defensive area, but if we're prepared to spend 45 million pound on someone, we must have money in the areas that are crucial to us, because we wouldn't be doing it. So I think that it bodes well for future signings as well. But yeah, I'm going to say I'm happy with this one. You know what I mean? I think it does solve our left side a little bit better, and I think we need to improve on that.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. And I wanted to ask you this. This is a hard question for you, but I'm going to throw it your way anyway, right? I want you to tell me your 2 right backs and your 2 left backs that you want at Arsenal right now. 1 starter and 1 backup. So you start on the right-hand side and you go to the left-hand side. You'll find out why I'm asking this in a minute.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. I'm gonna say
start with right backs.
Well, Ben White and Tomiyasu.
Yeah, same here. What about left backs? You can only pick 2. Calafiori is one of them, obviously.
Calafiori, I'm gonna have to say him because we're buying if we buy him, and Timber.
Yeah, so you're the same as me. So where does that leave Nketiah, Zinchenko, Tierney, and Tavares?
Well, 3 of them will go, and I still think that we can have. And I think maybe a different. You could get Zinchenko playing different roles. I think that so I would keep Zinchenko because he could play in midfield, could play out wide left, and can still play left back. And we don't know what Timber's going to be like with his injury. That's the only thing that at this moment in time, So I would keep a backup just in case things don't go for Timber.
Because, that makes sense. That does make sense. So, what I'm getting at, obviously, Nketiah is being linked with a move away. I think Tavares and Tierney, we believe, are going to go. But Nketiah is now being linked with a move to Italy as well. And he's our left-sided centre-back, Lee. So what I don't want to do is get rid of all of them. If Nketiah goes, do we need another centre-half? Because I'm kind of thinking, where are we at, because Calafiori can play there as a left-sided centre-back and Timber can play at left-back. But all these players don't really have a set position now. They all just literally play everywhere. Other than Gabriel and Saliba, everyone else plays everywhere. So
yeah, and that's what the way it's got to be. I think that's what it'd be. There'd be the 2 mainstays, and we have backup for them. Don't forget now, Saliba can play on the left side, you know what I mean, and he can play someone on the right side because he's doing it for France. He's just ended that myth. But what I would do is, I think Tomiyasu could be a very good central defender as well. So he can come in. We've got good cover in there now, all over. I'm pretty confident that if Saliba was to miss a Premier League game, say against an Ipswich or Wolves or someone like that, Tomiyasu can come in and do the job.
Bless you, mate.
Thank you very much. I think Tomiyasu could come in and do the job. You know what I mean? For those Premier League games. If you say you got don't forget he's worrying these 4 extra games, but you got Champions League game on the Wednesday, Saturday game you got Ipswich at home. Tomiyasu can come in on the game against Ipswich, do the job. You know what I mean? I'm pretty confident with our backline going in there. I do think that Nketiah, I don't think it's too bad. But if you're going to sign as Calafiori, he's going to go. I think. I think maybe then maybe part of this is that they've already had a good offer for Nketiah, and they think, well, if we can get in Calafiori, we can afford it makes business sense as well. There's got to be something like that in there because it's to me seems very, very strange because I think he done okay last season. Nketiah weren't brilliant, but I think done a job and didn't really get opportunities at central defence, which was a little bit harsh on him. So something must be happening behind the scenes there for him to let that happen. but yeah, so I'm quite confident that we've got a good all-round backup and all that. Like, you know, Timber can play right and left. So can Tomiyasu. You know what I mean? Tomiyasu was not a fish out of water at left back then. I've seen other players playing in that position and look like a fish out of water. He's never been a fish out of water in that position. So, I think he can be a very, very important player to us. One thing that's held Tomiyasu back for has been injuries. But towards the end of the last season, he played like quite a lot of games under pressure and played them very, very well.
Yeah, I'm not over worrying with it, but I just think that I'm interested, I would say is the word, to see what cover we do have in defence and if we've actually strengthened in terms of depth. I'm not sure that we've strengthened in terms of depth. I think we've strengthened in terms of quality. And I'm all for that, but we just don't need to get injuries at the back now. Because I understand, like you say, Ben White and Tomiyasu can play right, Tomiyasu can play left. Timber and Calafiori are left, but Timber can play right. Calafiori can play left. Saliba can play right centre back and left centre back. Gabriel can play left sided centre back. But is there one more needed there? I agree. I think Zinchenko, Tierney, Tavares, and Nketiah are now out of favour, and maybe we have to sell a couple of them. But I'm just worried that we'll get rid of clearing out quite a few of them and think, actually, got two injuries here. Let's say to Gabriel and Saliba. What happens then? Do we play Ben White and Tomiyasu as centre halves and then try and put the others at fullback or something? That's what I'm getting at. And I know it's worst case scenario, and you can't always think like that. But Arsenal have had that before, you know, where Tomiyasu and Saliba have both been injured at the same time, and it's like got to have to play bloody holding then. So where is that replacement? Is what I'm getting at. So maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe we have got enough cover, but we'll only know, I suppose, if it happens, won't we?
Well, that's a great point, but we'll find out in this American tour because don't forget, I don't think Gabriel or Saliba are going to be there. Like Saliba, like, you know, has played every minute of this tournament. Gabriel hasn't, you know, which is surprising. He's only played like one time coming on as a sub, so didn't come on in the knockout stage, the quarter final that's just gone. So even though he's been there, he hasn't played that many minutes, nor has Martinelli. So they can have a 2-3 weeks rest, and they can be coming back a little bit fresher, say, than the England boys and Saliba. So it'd be interesting for me to see on the American tour who plays on that right side of central defence, because there's not going to be a Saliba there, and to see how he does. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there, like, you know. So even though this American tour has got a few players missing, I think there'd be some good scenarios. If it's Timber coming in, people will say, "Oh, let's see how good Timber is with a pre-season under his belt." I think that they managed him really, really well last season. Didn't rush him back, didn't need to. So hopefully he'll come back and with a good pre-season and a few games under his belt, 4 or 5 games under his belt, he'll be ready for the Premier League, and we know what exactly he's going to give us. Because at this moment in time, no one really knows about what's going to happen with Timber, Dan. You know what I mean? He looked good when he played in the last few games, but we don't know what he's going to be like. You know, I look at Van Dijk, still a very, very good player, but not nowhere near the same player as he was before that knee injury. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's where I'm looking at that. Who will play on that right side? It might well be Timber that's going to play. It might even be that Timber plays right back and Ben White comes into the middle. It'd be interesting to see what he does in those situations without a Saliba and a Gabriel for this tour.
Yeah, will 100% it will, man. Let's talk about a couple of outgoings that are murmured or rumoured to be happening. Fulham have shown more interest in Emil Smith Rowe, mate. Now, I wanted to ask you what price tag you would consider selling Smith Rowe at, because some Arsenal fans don't want to sell him. And if I'm honest, if it was out of him and Fabio Vieira, I'd rather loan or sell Fabio Vieira and keep Smith Rowe than the other way around. But if you're going to be offered serious money, then you will have to consider it. I'm going to put it out there. I don't think we should be selling Smith Rowe for anything anywhere near less than 35 rising to 40 million, because I think that if Elliot Anderson goes for 35 million from Newcastle to Forest, we've got to be looking at Smith Rowe and think maybe we can get 45, 50 then, because he's done a hell of a lot more in his career already than Elliot Anderson has. Now, you've got to have a buyer, of course, and Forest were that buyer, so it's not Newcastle's fault or Elliot Anderson's fault, but they've paid a hell of a lot of money for him. But what are you looking at in terms of Smith Rowe? Are you thinking we could get a good fee here potentially?
35 minimum. I would accept 40 million. I think the one thing that would hold you back on Smith Rowe is injuries.
Yeah.
I do think that. I think that if it weren't for injuries, I think he would still be very, very much part of Arsenal's side. I think when he needed to be playing, like Saka was in that couple of years, because there weren't no difference. So they were both magical when they first come into the team. But then Smith Rowe's just been dogged with injuries for the last couple of seasons. That would be the only thing that would be off-putting. So that's why I would probably say to, maybe 30 million plus add-ons if he plays a certain amount of games to make sure to hit 40 million. But I think it's 40 million for me. Now, whether that be with add-ons and whatever, but if a Fulham or an Ipswich or a West Ham has been talked of, I think 40 million would be fair. Listen, 2 years ago, if you'd said that, I wouldn't be selling him. We wouldn't be selling him. It's really because of the injuries, Dan, that we're looking to sell. And I'm going to be really honest. If you talk about Vieira, I think that the reason that Smith Rowe would go over Vieira was because, business sense. Financially, you get more money for Smith Rowe, and it's 40 million pound profit. You know what I mean? So I think from a business point of view, Vieira stays. For a footballing point of view, it probably would be Smith Rowe. But unfortunately, we're not in the footballing world at now. It's a business, so that's what I think will happen.
I miss the Saka and Emil Smith Rowe song, Lee.
I love it.
I love it. I miss it a lot because we don't really see Smith Rowe now, do we? And don't seem to see playing together. But listen, I understand why we would accept a bid for Smith Rowe if it got to that stage, because it's 100% profit being a Hell End boy. I will say as well that I think with Smith Rowe, if he was to stay at Arsenal, we'd only get this year for me to prove that he's fit enough. Other than that, we got to get rid of him because we can't be dealing with that. And it might be that then it would make sense to sell now, because you're taking a risk on him. If he gets injured again, you're not going to get 40 for him. You'll probably get 20 for him next season. If he plays another game, if he has another season where he don't play. So I can understand what people are saying there. I just like the kid. I just like everything about him. And I love him when he plays football and he is fit. He is one of our better players. He is like a creative spark. So I do like him a lot. But sometimes you can't be sentimental in this game. And when you're going for titles, you have to look at who the best player per position is. Maybe we need a better upgrade on that now. Maybe we've passed Emil Smith Rowe. Getting into that Champions League place was what we needed him for. And since then, fighting for the title, he ain't really got a look in. Now, some of that is fitness, but some of it is actually he ain't been that great when he has come on. He's shown a couple of glimpses of games where I thought, do you know what, looked sharp. Thought he looked good when he come on in the last game of the season. Started the game at the Emirates against Luton, where I thought he was man of the match. Other than that, this season, just gone. He ain't really done too much, has he? So I wonder if he might need to go and try and prove himself somewhere else. Mark's made a good comment in the chat there about potentially going on loan to someone like Ipswich, try and prove his fitness and try and be one of the better players over there. Maybe you'll look at that. A couple of players have done that in those sort of lower division clubs. But for me, I think we have to try, and if we do get rid of him, we've got to try and get money for him now, really. I don't think we can start loaning these players out. We've got to stop doing that. So let's see what happens with Emil Smith Rowe. I wanted to talk about Eddie Nketiah because there's a mad rumour yesterday that we're trying to approach Barcelona with a crazy swap deal for Rafinha and money. Now, I don't think this is happening. I think it's all a load of nonsense, if I'm honest with you. But I'm going to ask you the same question about Smith Rowe like I did with Smith Rowe. What sort of price is Eddie then? Because if Elliot Anderson is 35 million and Nicholas Jackson is 35 million, as much as we slate Eddie, well, not slate him, but we question Eddie at Arsenal, should we be looking to get 40 million for Eddie?
In an ideal world, yes. I don't think we will do. I think that, again, I'd say 30 million with add-ons if he scores this amount of goals and whatever. I think the worry is, from Arsenal's point of view, if you sell these players and they become, brilliant. Let's not forget, last season Eddie became an England international. Was in the England squad and come on. So, England internationals don't go cheap then. And he must have been doing something good to be in the international setup and get a cap. So, and the same with Smith Rowe. It weren't that long ago, 2 years ago, that Smith Rowe was in the England side. So I don't think we should forget that. when it comes to selling. I still think Eddie would do a good job for a Wolves, a Crystal Palace, or someone like that. You know what I mean? Scores goals. His record is pretty decent, but unfortunately for where we want to go, it's not there. So I'm 30 million minimum again, 35. You know, if they were to get 40 million for him, I think that's good business. But you know, at the end of the day, there isn't really much of a future for Eddie at Arsenal no more. I think that, you know,
No.
only the squad player. He's never going to make it into the ranks of being the number one or anything like that. And let's face it, it's bloody hard to do that, like, you know what I mean? But he's done fantastically well with his career. I'm not an Eddie hater. I just don't think he's quite at the level that we want. But that doesn't mean to say that he's not going to be a good Premier League player, because I do think that he will be. And I think that he has got that ruthlessness to score goals. He just needs someone to say, look, you're the main man. And I think that he'll do well. So I'm looking at 30 million minimum for him, like, you know, and I think probably teams towards the back end of the transfer window will probably be prepared to pay that.
Listen, if Eddie was to go, I believe it will be in a Premier League move. The reason I brought it up was, of course, Rafinha is being linked with a move away. Now, they want to try and raise money, Barcelona, to try and get that Nico Williams, who's got a £49 million release clause. And Rafinha is seen as the guy that they might have to move on. He's 27. He's Premier League proven. He lit up the league when he was at Leeds. He's gone to Barcelona and not really been amazing, but he's done all right. Is that someone you'd be interested in, Lee, or do you think that we could do better than Rafinha?
Do you know what? No, he had the chance to come to Arsenal and didn't choose it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not bothered. I'd rather go down a Jadon Sancho route more than him, if I'll be honest. That's what I would want to go down that route there. You know, you had your chance and you chose to go Barcelona, which I've got no problems with. And you're right, you know what I mean? I think that he looked at that and it ain't quite worked out. Well, you know, good luck to you, like, you know, for me, not. I wouldn't be going down that route. I'd be looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I did like him when he was at Leeds, and I thought he was a good Premier League proven player. But I think that there's other options now that I prefer. Pedro Neto being one of them, Eze being another one. If Nico Williams was to want a Premier League move, I'd want Arsenal to be in for him. But I think, if I'm honest, I was speaking to a gal last night, and he was kind of twisting my arm, really. I think Eze would be such a good move for Arsenal. I think Eze would be brilliant. I know that he was at us before at the academy. I don't know if he supports Arsenal, but I know that he's a fan of us. Obviously plays in a lot of positions, can play wide left, wide right, number 8, number 10. I think that would be such a good signing in terms of versatility. And he's covering for a lot of positions there, you know. You could say, for example, Declan Rice has got a knock. We'll play Jorginho or Partey in the 6, or a 6 that we buy, and then we put Eze in the 8. You get Erdegaard who gets a knock. Eze can play the 10. Saka gets a knock or needs a rest, you play him on the right. You know what I'm saying? I think that'd be such a good signing. And he's got a release clause. I think it's around just over 60. I think that'd be great business, brother. I really do.
I like him. But, you know, they've already got rid of Elise. I think Palace will do everything they can to keep him for another year at least. But listen, I would be. Then I think it'd be 60 million well spent, because for exactly what you say, he can play 3 or 4 positions, you know what I mean? And gives you something different to what we've got now. I just don't think that Crystal Palace will let him go. I know there's a release clause, but I think that maybe they're trying to negotiate something with him. I don't know, like, you know, but I'm with you, Dan. I quite like him. It would be certainly one that I would go, the route that I would go down, more than someone like Rafinha, if I'll be really honest. I'm with you. I think we've got bigger and better options than him now, if I'll be honest.
I do. And I honestly believe when Eze's on the ball, he lifts the crowd. You always think, wow, it's exciting to see what he does with it. You know, I don't think we've kind of had somebody in that midfield role for a while who gives us that Santi Cazorla vibe. And I think that he would do that, you know. Now, Martin Erdegaard, is one of those that lifts the crowd for sure, 100%. But he's kind of an out-and-out creative midfielder, someone who gives us that box-to-box vibe. I think Eze could be class, mate. And like you say, goes across the whole front three. Honestly, this would be a fantastic signing, man. So I hope it does it. Problem we've got, bruv, Spurs are linked with Pedro Neto and Eze as well. Now, if we are interested, we've got to get in there because we don't want them going there. Let me tell you that now. Ivan Toney being linked with Tottenham yesterday as well. I mean, that could be 3 phenomenal signings for Spurs if they were all to come. I'll tell you that now. That could be quite exciting as far as Spurs are concerned. But if we're interested in Eze, I think he'd choose us 100%. So I hope that it's a player that we are serious about. But I haven't really been linked with any wingers or midfielders heavily yet, Lee. We haven't really. I don't know if we're playing our cards close to our chest, but I wanted to throw this one at you lastly. I don't know if you saw a TikTok or a rumor or a viral thing that went on Insta and TikTok the other day about a car salesman guy talking about we need to get this for this guy. He's coming to Arsenal. He's a German international. I don't know if you saw it. Now, he didn't actually say Arsenal. He said, now a lot of people have just added to that and gone, it must be Arsenal. If this is to be true, there's a couple of links to German players, of course, that people have put to us. Joshua Kimmich is one of them. Now, he is available. He is a defensive midfielder. He can play right back and box to box. I think that would be a very good signing. But the other one no one's really mentioned about, which I wanted to throw at you, was Leroy Sané, because I know that he's a fan of Arteta, and I know that Arteta's a fan of him. They've signed Elise now by Munich. They're keeping Gnabry. Leroy Sané hasn't been phenomenal in the last couple of seasons, but he's been good. He absolutely tore Kivior a new one at the Emirates, if you remember, when we played at home. I think this would be potentially one that would excite a few Arsenal fans. Do you think it's realistic, mate?
Yeah, I do think it's realistic because of the Arteta links, and they've all. I remember him, Sane, bigging up Arteta not that long ago, and if it was to happen at Bayern Munich, as you say, got some very, very good wide players. The only trouble with Bayern Munich's wide players, particularly Sane and also Gnabry, very injury prone. Not so much with Masala. So, I will take it. I quite like him. He's got Premier League experience.
He can play on both wings as well.
Yeah, he can play both wings. That's a very, very good point, then. He can play both wings. And, when he played against us, he looked sharp. So I wouldn't be dead against that one. If I'll be really honest, I wouldn't be dead against it. Especially that they might now. If you look at it with what players they have in those wide positions, one of them is not going to be playing regular. Whether it be Gnabry, whether it be Sané, one of them two.
Yeah, and that's why I think there's a chance that we could go for one of them. So, yeah, I'm not sleeping on that. A lot of people are saying that it's not rubbish, it's all not going to happen, and it's all rumours and this rubbish. But listen, I think there's an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. I think there might be an opportunity. So don't sleep on the Leroy Sané one and just keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, keep an eye out on it. Just keep an eye on that one. Yeah. Something might come of it.
Something might. Listen, we're going to leave it there. Absolute legend. Always love chatting to you, mate. Big up to everybody in the chat. Make sure you do me a favour and subscribe to the channel. We are so close to getting towards our next target, which is 40k. So please make sure that we can get there. And Lee, I'll let you see us out, bruv.
Listen, have a lovely night tonight. It's free football night. There's not a great deal on. It all starts tomorrow. Get your money on the French and Saliba. And I'll tell you this now. Spain have got a very, very good chance. But whoever it is, they're meeting England in the final. See you soon.